Hey there, curious friend. I'm Courtney, a certified peer support specialist, and welcome to Wonderland Unlocked. In this series, Curious Connections, we're diving into the twists and turns of friendships and relationships, exploring trust, growth, and those unexpected moments in between. Because in the world of connections, nothing is ever quite as it seems, but it's always worth unlocking together. Welcome back to Wonderland Unlocked, where we step through the looking glass into the strange, the curious, and the unexpectedly profound. Today, we're turning the handle on something we all experience, opening and closing doors in relationships. In Alice in Wonderland, the doorknob is the first character Alice encounters in Wonderland, and he holds the key, literally, to her next adventure. He doesn't push, he doesn't force, he simply lets her know what's possible. And isn't that what relationships do? They invite us in, they challenge us, and sometimes they show us when it's time to move on. Today, we're exploring the natural opening and closing in friendships, romance, family ties, and even those relationships that never quite get past the threshold. How do we know when to walk through a door? When is it time to gracefully close one? And what about the ones that refuse to budge? Get cozy, grab a cup of tea, maybe even some jam to keep things from getting stuck, and let's unlock this together. Let's start with the magic of an opening door. Think about the best relationship in your life. What made them feel like an open door? Maybe it was effortless conversation, a shared curiosity, or a feeling of being truly seen. Sometimes the right people enter our lives unexpectedly, and other times we have to turn the handle ourselves. But how do we recognize an open door when we see one? How do we step through with confidence instead of hesitating at the threshold? Some invitations are obvious. A friend asks you to hang out, a romantic interest reaches out, a colleague includes you in a project. But more often than not, invitations in a relationship are subtle. A lingering conversation that neither of you want to end, someone remembering small details about your life. A sense of ease when you're together, like you don't have to force anything. These are small ways we can open doors for each other, and yet, how often do we hesitate? I remember a time when I nearly missed an invitation. There was someone in my life who kept making small gestures, checking in, asking deep questions, leaving the door open for connection, and yet I held back. Maybe I was too caught up in my own world, or maybe I feared stepping into something unknown. When I finally recognized what was happening, I realized I had been standing at an open door all along. Think about your own life. Is there someone who's been inviting you in, but you haven't fully stepped through yet? Now, let's get curious. Are the best relationships a matter of fate, meant to be, or do we create them through our choices? Some people believe that certain connections are inevitable, that life has a way of bringing us to the right people at the right time. Others believe relationships are built, crafted through effort, intention, and showing up consistently. Consider this. Have you ever met someone and immediately felt like you were meant to know them? On the flip side, have you ever developed a deep bond with someone over time, not because of fate, but because of shared effort? Maybe it's a bit of both. Maybe life presents us with doors, but it's up to us to turn the handle. Let's think about Alice. She was presented with a door to Wonderland, but the doorknob didn't open it for her. She had to take action, drink the potion, shrink down, and find her way through. How many times in life have we been given an opportunity for connection, but hesitated, waiting for someone else to do the work? Let's be honest. Sometimes we miss the signs. We're too distracted, too guarded, or too stuck in our own heads to notice when someone is inviting us in. Maybe it's because of fear of vulnerability. What if they don't actually want to connect? Overanalyzing. What if I misinterpret their intentions? Past experiences. What if this ends in disappointment? But what if Alice had let fear stop her? What if she had refused to drink the potion, too afraid of what might happen? Think of a time when you may have missed an open door. Was there a friendship or a relationship that could have grown if you had been more open? If you could go back, would you step through? So what does it look like to step through an open door in relationships? Recognizing the signs. When someone is consistently showing up, that's an invitation. Be brave enough to take the next step. A simple, "Hey, I'd love to get to know you better," can go a long way. Trust your instincts. If it feels right, don't overthink it. And here's something to remember. Not every open door leads to forever, but that doesn't mean it's not worth stepping through. Some people are meant to walk with us for a short while, and that's okay. Let me share a story. Imagine Alice never tried to open the door to Wonderland. What if she had been too afraid? How many times have we hesitated at the threshold of a friendship or a romance, second-guessing whether we should walk in? Here's your challenge. Pay attention this week. Notice the open doors around you. Who's inviting you in? And are you ready to take that step? We've all been there. You're knocking, and the door won't budge. Maybe it's a friendship where communication has dried up. Maybe it's a romance that's lost its spark. Or maybe it's an opportunity that just won't open, no matter how much effort you put in. It's frustrating, isn't it? You can see what's on the other side. You remember the warmth, the excitement, the potential. But for some reason, things just aren't moving the way they used to. So what do we do when we're standing in front of a door that won't open? Do we keep knocking? Do we break it down? Or do we step back and ask ourselves, is this even the right door? Let's talk about resistance. Sometimes when we want something badly enough, we convince ourselves that if we just push a little harder, we say the right thing. If we prove our worth, the door will open. But what if the resistance isn't a challenge to overcome, but a message? Signs that a relationship might be forcing itself shut. Conversations feel like effort, like you're pulling teeth to keep things going. You're always the one reaching out, planning, or making the effort. When you do connect, it feels different, less exciting, less natural, more like an obligation. You're feeling left drained rather than fulfilled. Now, of course, every relationship goes through phases, but if you've been standing at a locked door for too long, it's worth asking, is this door actually meant to open? Think about Alice in Wonderland. She encounters all sorts of doors, some too small, some too big. She tries different approaches, but some doors simply aren't meant for her, and that's okay. When to keep trying versus when to let go? How do we know when a stuck door is worth the effort? That's a tough one, because not all stuck doors are meant to be abandoned. Some relationships are worth working through. Some friendships deserve the extra patience. So how do you know the difference? Ask yourself, has this door been opened before? If this relationship once felt easy and fulfilling, maybe it's just a rough patch, not a dead end. Is the effort mutual? If both people are trying, maybe in different ways, it might be worth sticking with it. Does this door align with who you are now? Sometimes we try to force connections that made sense for a past version of ourselves, but no longer fits where we are today. I once had a friendship that felt like a jammed door. We had been close for years, but suddenly everything felt off. Conversations were strained. Plans were constantly canceled, and I felt like I was the only one trying. For months, I kept knocking. I asked myself, what did I do wrong? How can I fix this? And then I realized I was knocking on a door that had already been closed. Not because of any big falling out, not because of lack of love, but simply because we had grown in different directions. And the moment I accepted that, I felt free. If you're stuck in a relationship, take a step back and ask, am I knocking because I truly believe this door should open, or because I'm afraid of what it means if it stays closed? Sometimes we don't let go because we're still invested in the idea of the relationship. We tell ourselves, I've already put in so much effort. Walking away would mean all of that was for nothing. I can't be the one to let go first. That would mean I failed. If I just try a little harder, maybe things will go back to the way they were. But here's the truth. Holding on to something that isn't working isn't a sign of strength. Letting go when it's time, that's courage. Alice doesn't waste time knocking on locked doors. She explores, she experiments, and when one path doesn't work, she tries another. She trusts that another way forward will appear. What if we do the same? What if we got curious instead of frustrated? Instead of seeing a stuck door as an obstacle, what if we treated it like Alice would, like a puzzle? What if we try a new approach, change how we communicate, shift our expectations, or meet the person where they are? What if we take a step back and stop pushing? Sometimes when we stop forcing, a door naturally opens. And if it doesn't, what if we saw that as an answer instead of a failure? Take a moment. Think about a relationship in your life that feels stuck. Is there a different approach you could take? A different key you haven't tried? Or is it just time to stop knocking? Breathe that in, because whether you choose to push forward or let go, the most important thing is this. You are not meant to stand at a closed door forever. There are other doors waiting for you to step through. If opening a door is exciting, closing one can be bittersweet. Endings are hard, whether it's a breakup, a friendship, drifting apart, or even setting boundaries with family. But just like Alice, we sometimes need to move forward, even when it's uncomfortable. If opening a door is exciting, closing one can be bittersweet. Endings are hard, whether it's a breakup, a friendship drifting apart, or even setting boundaries with family. But just like Alice, we sometimes need to move forward, even when it's uncomfortable. Why do we fear endings? What keeps us holding on, even when we know a door should close? The art of letting go, saying goodbye without resentment or regret. Closure without a final conversation. What if you don't get the ending you wanted? Alice never goes back through that doorknob. She doesn't need to. She keeps moving forward. So let's talk about how to embrace closure with the same type of adventure. Not all doors stay closed forever. Sometimes people circle back into our lives when the timing is right. Let's talk about the difference between nostalgia and true reconnection. The past can feel safe, but does it belong in your present? Think about a relationship that has re-entered your life. What's the difference this time? At the end of the day, you're the one holding the key. The doorknob doesn't tell Alice what to do. He simply shows her the way. Own your choices. You decide which doors to open and which to close. Set boundaries, protecting your energy and knowing when to say no. The freedom and choice. Not every door needs to be walked through. Imagine yourself standing in a hallway of doors. Which one feels open and inviting? Which one needs to be shut? And which one are you standing in front of, waiting for permission to walk through? Relationships are a series of doors. Some swing open easily, others take effort, and some needs to be closed for good. But the beauty of it all, you get to decide. Take this week to notice the doors in your life. Where are you being invited in? Where are you knocking too hard? And where do you need to turn the handle and step forward, ready for whatever's next? Thanks for joining me on Wonderland Unlocked. If this episode spoke to you, share it with a friend or send me a message. I'd love to hear what doors you're opening and closing in your own journey. Until next time, keep exploring, keep growing, and don't be afraid to turn the handle.